So I have no doubt that you've seen or heard what is currently happening in Israel right now, and I think we need to talk about it. Shalom, this is Zoe, aka ThatJewGirlLew. Here with another vlog, and this vlog might be a little different than the rest, as I am going to be addressing some recent events that have been taking place in Israel and why they are happening. So when I sat down to write this episode, the first thing I did was type into Google Israel news. I was not surprised to see things like Israeli airstrikes in Gaza and dozens of Palestinians dead after Israeli airstrikes. And I just want to get one thing clear. From all the things I've seen and read and researched, and depending on where you get your news from, the information you receive is going to be very skewed, much like most news is today. That's just a fact of life that we have to deal with in these modern times. You have to think very critically and make sure that the sources you are using are accurate and non-biased. So this episode was actually very difficult for me to write because of that conflicting information. It is also a very complex situation, and I don't have the brain capacity to get into every single detail of it yet. So for the past few months, there have been an increased amount of terrorist activity in the land of Israel, and these have resulted in many Jewish lives lost and injured. Now, this isn't too surprising to me. It's a sad reality that comes with living in Israel, despite it being a safe haven for Jews. And terrorism has been happening there for thousands of years, but recently tensions between Israel and its neighbors have escalated again, despite efforts to make peace. So what is all this back and forth tension about? Why are the Jewish people being targeted in acts of terrorism? And why is Gaza firing hundreds of rockets into Israel? What is Palestine? So let's start with what Gaza is. Gaza, or the Gaza Strip, is a 140 square mile piece of land in the southwest corner of Israel, and it faces the Mediterranean Sea. So I did this next part on purpose. I wanted to use the Wikipedia definition in this video just so I could refute it. It starts out good saying, the territories of Gaza and the West Bank are separated from each other by Israeli territory. Both fell under the jurisdiction of the Palestinian Authority, which is true. And it continues. But the Strip is governed by Hamas, a militant fundamentalist Islamic organization, which came to power in the last held elections in 2006. While it sounds better to call Hamas a militant fundamentalist Islamic organization, it is more accurate to simply call it a terrorist organization. And plus, it's not so many words, so it's easier to say. Keep it simple. So let's rewind 100 and some years to the year of 1918. Palestine was under the control of the Ottoman Empire, and after they were defeated in World War I, the Ottoman Empire, Great Britain decided to take control of the territory. Now, when I say Palestine, I use it loosely because technically, as I talked about in the last episode, Israel wasn't technically a country until 1948. According to the Bible, Israel has always been Israel and it always will be Israel. I just use the term Palestine because this is what the Arabs referred to Israel as, and still do in their fight to make the land theirs. So the term Palestine is actually derived from the Greek word Philistia, or Philistia. And this refers to what we know as the Philistines, a people who originated from the island of Crete, who then migrated to Israel. And we know all about the Philistines, right? The Philistines were formidable warriors who often clashed with the Israelites in biblical times due to their idol worship and their brutality. Goliath, the giant who David took down with a stone, was a Philistine. So these people, the Philistines, dwelled in the cities of Ashdod, Ashkelon, Ekron, Gath, and also Gaza. And according to the Jewish Virtual Library, after the Romans conquered the region in the 2nd century CE, the Romans used the term Palestina to refer to the region in an attempt to minimize Jewish attachment to the land. Pretty interesting. Now, again, this isn't something I want to dwell for too long on, but I still feel like I need to talk about it. So from my understanding, this is where the conflict lies. Both the Arabs and the Jews claim Israel to be their ancestral homelands. But As it says in Psalm 135:4, "For the Lord has chosen Jacob for himself, Israel for his own possession." And you can also read Isaiah 43:1-3, Deuteronomy 14:2, 2 Samuel, 1 Kings, Romans 11, Hebrews 8, and numerous other times in the Bible. God himself speaks of Israel being his and belonging to his people. I think I've made my stance on this issue very clear. I believe Israel to rightly belong to the Jewish people, but it would be wrong of me to kind of have any sort of hate or resentment towards those who call themselves Palestinians. Because not all Palestinians are terrorists. Not all of them hate Jews. Not all of them despise Israel and everything it stands for. It's their government that is encouraging this hatred, and the whole world seems to have just jumped on that train that Israel is this evil place. That's the evil itself playing out in society as it always has. Now, Israel has not always been perfect. You can go back and count all the times that God was just so fed up with them. I don't always agree with its leadership and its politics, but Israel is not the one purposely killing innocent lives in civilian areas over land. I found myself asking this question over and over again in my head these past few weeks. If I were to go to Israel tomorrow, would I feel safe? Would I feel like my life is in danger? And I've come to the conclusion that yeah, I would feel safe. I mean, sure, my life might be in danger. Technically, it always is, no matter where I go. And I say this because it just seems like the people living there have to go on, like they have to live their life despite these missiles and rockets being fired over their heads. Jesus told us in Matthew 10:28, "Do not fear those who kill the body but cannot kill the soul. Rather fear him who can destroy both soul and body in hell." And apparently, as of last night, May 13th, Israel and the Islamic Jihad have both agreed to a ceasefire, which is great. But ceasefires and truces have been made before in the past and inevitably broken. From my understanding, Gaza will find any little thing they can to justify attacking Israel, unfortunately. Okay, glad we got that out of the way. So thank you for joining me today. Please make sure you like and subscribe. Shavu Tov. Subscribe. Shavu Tov. Yeah.